Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Table for One, Please. My name is Tommy Hensel. If you've been following me, you know that I'm doing a cookbook challenge. The first cookbook that I'm reviewing, or have reviewed actually, is this cookbook here, Casserole Magic by Lucine Rousseau-Bruner. I've posted a video of that review, and I've also written a review on my website, tableforoneplease.com. So part of the challenge is that I set a random number generator and picked a random page, and I'm cooking the recipe that was on that page. So the recipe that got chosen, not necessarily my personal favorite, but I promised I would cook it, is for tuna noodle casserole. It was on page 89 of the book. So in front of me, you see all of the ingredients to create this tuna noodle casserole. So first of all, we have flour, butter, and milk to create the white sauce. Tuna, of course. We have noodles. Now it calls for noodles. It didn't say what kind of noodles. So I decided, since I was a kid growing up in the 60s and 70s, my mother used to make egg noodles for a lot of things. So I bought this package of egg noodles. So that'll be our noodles. So with the white sauce, you will mix the tuna and a bunch of other ingredients. So we have mushrooms, which have to be chopped and sauteed. We have an onion, some celery, eggs. So you can see eggs. Can't see them. There they are. Eggs. Green peas that are cooked. So I bought frozen green peas. I'll be cooking a cup of those and adding them. We also add some prepared mustard and some Worcestershire sauce to the white sauce and the tuna mixture. On top of it, we will put some buttered breadcrumbs, which you see here, and some grated Parmesan cheese. Now, I decided not to buy Parmesan cheese and grate it myself, but I didn't go for the horrible stuff that you buy off the shelf. I actually went to the deli and had them shred some. And for the breadcrumbs, kind of cool, I went to one of my favorite French restaurants in Chicago, Mon Ami Gabi. I actually went to the one in Oak Brook and had about half a baguette left over. So when I got home, I sliced it in half, buttered it, stuck it in the oven at a low temperature for about an hour. And then after the bread cooled, I put it through a food processor and created these pretty awesome breadcrumbs. Now, one secret ingredient with the tuna, sherry. Anybody who likes traditional bisques, like seafood bisques, like a she crab soup, knows that sherry is the magic ingredient that elevates it up a notch. And because I'm only using a couple of tablespoons, I'll be drinking some of that while we prepare this recipe. So, in front of you, you see all of the ingredients to make the famous or infamous tuna noodle casserole. So I'm going to fade out now, and when we fade back in, I will have done some prep work so that we can then put the casserole together. So until then, well, welcome back everybody. So you'll see the mise en place for this meal in front of you. I'm in the process right now of making the white sauce. So I've actually created a roux back here. I'm letting it cook for just a second to get the flour taste out of it. In front of you, you see all the prepared stuff, and I left out one ingredient earlier. It's parsley. It called for dry parsley, but I used fresh, so I upped it from 1 teaspoon to probably more than a tablespoon. And actually, what you'll find if you really look carefully at my recipe, that I've increased the ingredients on a number of different things because I felt like there wasn't quite enough celery or enough onions. But I didn't change any of the major ingredients, you know, like the tuna and like this white sauce that I'm working on right now. So we're gonna let that cook for just a second. I'm gonna work on, oh, cheers, some sherry. I'm gonna work on adding some stuff to the tuna. The tuna is gonna go into the white sauce with all of this other stuff. So I'm going to add the parsley in, mix that a little bit, and to be quite honest, I added a little extra sherry to the tuna. I'm sure you're not all surprised at that. All right, the mushrooms can also go in here because this bowl will hold that. I sauteed about a half cup of fresh mushrooms with just a tiny bit of olive oil. So let me check on my white sauce. Okay, so that's doing all right. All right, let's see. Let's add some celery. It calls for a half a cup of celery. I actually did more like a cup or maybe 3/4 of a cup of celery. All right, so we're prepping the celery. Here we are. There's that. Okay. I think that may be all I can fit in that little bowl. Ah, good. The white sauce is thickening nicely, so I'm going to turn it off. Okay. So, here we have just a very traditional white sauce. I didn't add any seasonings to it at all, so I am going to add just a little bit of cracked black pepper and a touch of salt. I'm going to stir with this spatula. All right, so we're going to add onions into the white sauce. All I had was that big medium onion, so I cut it in half and I used half of it. So I'm going to keep those onions stirring. This is the peas. I cooked those a little bit earlier. So we're going to stir the peas into the white sauce. All right. Then I'm going to add the eggs and stir that carefully. All right. I notice in the frame that my head is kind of disappearing, so I'm backing up further than I would normally back up from my counter. All right. That's all stirred together. And now we're going to put in, oh, wait a minute. It calls for like a half teaspoon, which is, that's a dollop. That's close enough. And you know what? I'm not going to even measure this. Worcestershire sauce. Go. That looks like a good amount of Worcestershire sauce. As you can see, I don't like following recipes, but I kind of had to for part of this. Ooh, that smells great. Too bad there's not smell-o-vision here, because that smells kind of nice. All right, here is the tuna mixture. We're going to mix all of that together. All right. Oh, wait. Time for... This is a really nice Oloroso sherry, by the way. Yum. I'm going to enjoy this. I understand now why Julia Child always liked cooking with wine. All right, so the recipe calls for putting half of this mixture in a 2-quart greased casserole, which is this casserole right here. Not scientific, that was about half. Here's my cooked egg noodles, and the egg noodles go on top of the bottom layer of the tuna mixture. It's amazing how they get all glommy really fast. Oh well. I'm getting ready to cover it with more tuna mixture, so we're good. All right. All right, tuna, noodle, there we go. Noodles, all right. And then make sure the noodles are kind of spread around. I'm going to pour the rest of the tuna mixture on top. All right. I'm going to spread that just a little bit. Didn't quite cover all the noodles, but you know what? It's close enough. All right. And then here is the mixture of Parmesan cheese and breadcrumbs. I'm going to sprinkle that on top. I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. The recipe calls for cooking this casserole for between 30 and 40 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer for 35 minutes and then check it and see how it is. And in the meantime, I'm going to clean up this incredible mess that I just made. So I'm going to fade out. When I fade back in, we'll be back with the casserole coming out of the oven. Now, for all the recipes in this book, she always recommends certain side dishes, and I'm going to go ahead with her recommendation. She called for buttered lima beans and carrots with sour cream. All right, not something I would normally cook, but you know what? I'm going to prepare it the way she said. So I'll be back in a little while to see how this tuna casserole has turned out. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. It's the moment of truth. We see in front of us tuna noodle casserole and a plate with buttered lima beans and carrots with sour cream. I put a little dill on those too. So before we dig into the tuna, I decided to pair it today with a 2016 Chardonnay from Anaba. It's one of my favorite wineries in Sonoma, California. I belong to their wine club. When you go to my website to read about this meal, I will link to them. It's an awesome winery, and I thought maybe a really nice, it's a nice dry Chardonnay. It's not a buttery Chardonnay, so it's more of like a steel barrel kind. So it's kind of nice. It's not going to be too creamy for this. So the casserole is supposed to make enough for 6. So I am going to cut out, let's see. All right, that looks like about 1/6. Whoops, I made a little mess on my table there. About 1/6 of the casserole. So here we go. Tuna noodle casserole from 1953's book, Casserole Magic. Ooh, it's hot. You know, I have to tell you, that's pretty darn good. And it's like childhood comfort food for me. I love this casserole kind of thing. Let's taste the carrots with the sour cream. I've never done that. Gosh, that's good too. I never thought about putting sour cream on carrots. And one last taste. Well, lima beans are lima beans, so those are actually pretty good. So, you know, I have to tell you, this 1953 casserole cookbook, pretty darn good. So I am now going to sign off. The next cookbook that you will see me review is the oldest in my catalog that you see behind me. It was published in 1913. It belonged to my great-grandmother, so I'm very excited by that one. So until then, as always, I am epicuriously yours. Cheers.